$1 million. Free to play. You just need to survive. It's the Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Pick one team to win each week. Get it right, move on. Get it wrong, you're out. The last fan standing take home a guaranteed $1 million cash prize. And for every player who joins, we add $1 to the pot, up to $10 million. The Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Play free on the Fanatics app. App access open to all. Must be 21 plus and joined by 9/8 to play. No purchase necessary. U.S. only. Void where prohibited. Subject to complete terms. See fanatics.com/game rules.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show. Joining me now is Rod D. Martin. He is the founder and chief executive officer of Martin Capital. He's an entrepreneur, but his most impressive accomplishment, in my view, is a very, very lively Substack that he turns out. I don't subscribe to many other folks on Substack. I frankly don't have time, but the Rod Martin Report, which you can get by going to rodmartin.org, that's rodmartin.org, is literally indispensable reading. Some of the best commentary and analysis you will find any place on the internet. We're always very lucky to have him. Rod, welcome, and thanks for joining us today on the Roger Stone Show.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Rod, you've got so much great stuff up, I almost don't know where to start, but let's start here. You point out that when President Eisenhower mobilized the National Guard to preserve order, he was hailed as a hero. This, of course, was in Little Rock, Arkansas, when he used the National Guard to enforce the desegregation of the public schools. But now the Democrats and the radical left, well, wait a minute, that's kind of the same thing, seem to be going out of their mind because the president not only used the National Guard to restore safety in the District of Columbia, but he is threatening to do so in the city of Chicago as well as in the city of Portland. Later on in the show, we have former Chicago Police Superintendent Richard Bresack joining us. He's a strong supporter of this idea, but tell us your thinking on this issue.
Well, you nailed it. It's complete hypocrisy, but it isn't surprising because, honestly, remember who it was who opposed Eisenhower? It was the Democrats. That was exactly the point. The Democrat governor, Orville Faubus, whom I had the pleasure of spending some time with before he died, really, really fascinating man. But he was a segregationist, and he called out the National Guard to block the entry of Little Rock Central High by 9 black students. And Eisenhower's response to that, remember, this is only 3 years after Brown versus Board of Education, Eisenhower's Republican response to that was to call out the 101st Airborne, federalize the Guard, and occupy Little Rock for 8 months. I'm really not kidding. And I know because we glorified this beyond all measure. I grew up in Arkansas. We were regaled with tales of the Little Rock Nine every year of my schooling. So this is heroic. This is amazing until Donald Trump does it. And honestly, that is how that works because it's not like Eisenhower's the only one. JFK called out the Guard. LBJ called out the Guard. Nixon called out the Guard. Bush called out the Guard for the riots in Los Angeles. Countless presidents have done this, and there are rules you got to follow. There are absolutely legal limits, and you see that in D.C. The president hasn't allowed the National Guard to make any arrests. They're allowed to detain people until the police come and make a determination as to whether there should or shouldn't be an arrest. But their presence makes a world of difference. And the truth is, if we had done this in 2020 during the BLM riots, those riots would have been quelled. And the president, I think, learned his lesson from that, learned who to listen to and who not to, and I think he's doing the right thing.
I could not agree more. I thought that the BLM Antifa riots, the final year of his presidency, was a test. Somebody persuaded him to leave the decision to the governors. It's a mistake that he will not make again, has not made again. He's indicated pretty clearly that it's not a matter of if he goes into Chicago with the National Guard, but a matter of when. What's really amazing to me is the way Democrats, like J.B. Pritzker, like the mayor of Chicago, are these people actually pro-crime? Are they pro-violence? I don't understand what constituency they think opposes the idea of safe neighborhoods and communities.
Well, the socialists among us absolutely are pro-criminal, as they have been in every country where socialists have taken power. And you see it right now in Great Britain. You know, the government is going out of its way to shield all of these Pakistani rape gangs from any consequences whatsoever. But if you're a mom who posts a meme about it online, you go to jail. And we actually have 30 such arrests a day in Great Britain, supposedly the second freest country in the world right now. So, yes, the left, the true left, the socialist left, always does take the part of criminals, whether it's flooding the border with 10 million new illegal aliens in just 4 years, whether it's going to bat for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is a wife-beating, human-trafficking gangbanger, and they want him in Maryland really bad, or whatever it is, because the issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution, and they know that if they can bring about enough chaos, first of all, it helps their intersectional minority groups to have more political power. It also breaks down orders such that when they want to crack down and have a truly top-down order, people will clamor for it. Or at least that's the strategy. And that has worked in countless countries that fell under the yoke of communism. So that's where we are. Now, are all Democrats like that? I am certainly not saying that. But some of the leaders of the Democratic Party today could not be clearer that they are socialists, that they want to fundamentally transform America, and that the U.S. Constitution is not only obsolete, it's racist and evil.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Rod Martin of the Rod Martin Report. You can go to rodmartin.org. I strongly recommend that you do so and subscribe. There you will find some of the best political analysis and commentary online today. Rod, you have a great piece regarding the Fifth Circuit decision, or the Fifth Federal Circuit blocked President Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act in order to deport illegal, dangerous, illegal immigrants. You wrote, among other things, that this decision is wrong on the facts and wrong on the law. Tell us what you meant.
Well, that's absolutely right. And I think, I suspect that the three-judge panel, which, by the way, ruled against the president 2-1, so it wasn't even unanimous. My guess is the three-judge panel will be overturned when there's an en banc hearing of the full Fifth Circuit, because it just doesn't make sense. This is a statute that has been on the books since 1798. We know exactly what it means. We know exactly how it's applied, and it's been upheld by the courts for 2 centuries. So, what has the president done? Well, he's made the required statutory finding that Tren de Arruga, a narco-terrorist thug gang from Venezuela, is in fact a paramilitary organization of the Venezuelan government, that they are trained, funded, and directed by the Maduro regime, and that about 300 of them were infiltrated across the border during the Biden years to wreak havoc in American cities. This is a guerrilla operation, not that much different, although much smaller in scale, than the Viet Cong. And the president has every right to make that determination. That has been the consistent interpretation of the courts all through the years, that as long as the president makes that determination in good faith, it is part of the executive authority, and therefore Article 2, the executive branch, the president, it is his right to actually make the determination and act on it. It's all bound by law. There are parameters on that. There are boundaries on all of it. It's not in any way exceeding presidential authority. It is, in fact, utilizing the presidential authority that has been exercised by presidents for over 2 centuries. So, yeah, the court erred on the facts. They found that this wasn't really a paramilitary organization being directed by the Venezuelan government. Well, hogwash. The court doesn't have access to the information needed to make that determination. More to the point, Article 3 doesn't give them the authority to second-guess the president on it. And on the law, they simply misapplied it. So I think the president prevails on this. If he has to go to the Supreme Court, I think he prevails 7-2.
Once again, though, we see this pattern of judicial tyranny. Federal courts recently ruling the president doesn't have the authority to negotiate new tariff deals with our trading partners. The federal judge Gia Cobb arguing the president doesn't have the authority to deport dangerous illegals because they haven't gotten sufficient due process. It's like one big stalling action.
It is. Well, and deliberately so. They know he's term limited. They know he only has 4 years. They know that normally a president really only has his first 18 months, and they're just running out the clock. That's absolutely their strategy, and they couldn't be plainer about it. You can read about it in The Atlantic. They wrote a whole article this last week about, yes, we are absolutely carrying out lawfare to stop the Trump agenda. Well, okay, there you go. And I don't blame them. I mean, good for them. That's one way to go at it. But it doesn't respect the outcome of an election we just had that gave the president an overwhelming majority of the popular vote and the electoral vote. Elections have to matter. The president ought to be able to get his people through the Senate confirmed in time to actually run an administration before the new one comes in, and he ought to be able to conduct his policies. And we determine whether we like that or not every couple years at an election. And the Democrats don't want that. They want to be able to block and stop and slow down and overturn every single thing that isn't what they would choose. And that's not democracy. When they say they're defending our democracy, what they mean is they're defending rule by Democrats.
Yeah, the people who nominated a candidate for president that not a single Democrat primary or caucus voter voted for in a contest in which no other candidate was allowed to compete. The people who want to limit free speech on the internet and censor any idea they don't agree with, they say that we're the danger to democracy. I would argue that they are the danger to democracy. We'll be right back with Rod Martin, and when we do, I want to ask him about whether it is possible for Alberta, the province in Canada, as well as Saskatchewan, to potentially become the next 2 states of the United States. We'll be right back.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Claptrap here. 2 big things are coming this fall. Borderlands 4 and Spotify Wrapped. So stop listening to that one playlist that reminds you of your ex who only made you cry. Talking about you, Veronica. And pre-order Borderlands 4, coming out September 12th.
Rated mature.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show. We're talking to Rod Martin of the Rod Martin Report. I strongly urge you to go to his Substack. You can get that at rodmartin.org. Some of the most lively and incisive political commentary and economic commentary on the internet today. I strongly urge you to subscribe. It is indispensable reading. Rod, I really was not focused on this issue. I remember laughing along with the rest of the country when President Trump joked that maybe Canada should become our 51st state, and if Justin Trudeau was really nice to him, maybe let him be governor. Of course, Trudeau is now long gone, and a reading of the Constitution and a piece that you wrote back in May that I read way back then, but you've republished, indicates that there's a very real possibility that Alberta, one of the most conservative, also the wealthiest in terms of natural resources and so on, provinces in Canada, could secede from Canada, could become independent, and then could theoretically apply for statehood with the United States. I'm actually in touch with a group in Saskatchewan, which is a smaller but no less conservative, perhaps even more conservative province. Also, one of the number 2 producers of uranium in the world, the number 1 producer of potash in the world, also a leading source of rare earth elements. I think there's a substantial public interest in potentially seceding to independence in Saskatchewan as well. So tell us about this.
Well, you're right to mention Saskatchewan. They're fantastic and, great people, just like in Alberta. Alberta is the Texas of the North. In resources, in just general attitude. And they are just being treated abominably by the Laurentian elite back east. They are being treated not as a province of a federal republic like the United States. They're being treated like a colony of an empire in Ottawa. They are being just raped and pillaged financially to pay for the welfare schemes in the recipient provinces such as Quebec and the Maritimes, and they're not getting anything in return for it except a war on their energy product. So it's just really a terrible situation. Danielle Smith is the premier. She's doing a fantastic job. They've reduced the signature requirement for an initiative to vote on separation. And they almost immediately got all the signatures they needed. So she's got a strong hand to negotiate with Ottawa. And if it goes badly, there's a very real possibility, and Conrad Black was talking about this just the other day, that Alberta might very well become the 51st state, and I would be thrilled if they did. I might move there myself.
All right. Saskatchewan may be just ahead of them or right behind them. There's a fledgling movement there to do the exact same thing. This would be real democracy in action, and I've read the law very carefully. This is subject to a vote by the people. So it can very definitely be a reality. You pointed out in your great piece. Again, I want to thank our guest, Rod D. Martin of the Rod Martin Report. You can go to rodmartin.org for his analysis. He turns out great stuff, and we're always honored to have him here on The Roger Stone Show.
Thanks for listening to The Roger Stone Show. You can hear The Roger Stone Show Sunday afternoons at 3. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?